Morning everyone, welcome back to When Saturdays Come With Me, Driver Eye. Friday morning, Chris Wilder's presser. You know, every time I watch a Chris Wilder presser, no matter when it is, it's such, inspirational, motivational, whether it's enlightening or whatever it is, it's always an interesting listen. And I've just watched about 50 minutes of a Chris Wilder interview this morning, and it was fantastic. And I urge anybody who hasn't watched it to watch it today, because everything he said is absolutely bang on, right? Everything from what he had to talk about regarding the club, the players, the contracts, the fans and player interaction. It's all in there today. I think that was one of his best interviews I've seen for a long time. And it was just truly brilliant. It just makes me want to get me a football boots out at my old age of 70 to play football again. And I'd do it. And I'd do it for him, because whether you like him or not, he's just a brilliant manager. But anyway, well, he talked about when he first started about Vinny and the injuries. Vinny's trained all week. Shackleton's back. Tom Davies will be back for Plymouth. And Clarke back for Millwall. I had to write a lot of notes down, so you're going to have to forgive me while I have to go through all these, because there's a lot to talk about. So I'll briefly go through it, then you can watch the interview yourself and just see what you think. But I'll just give you an outline of what he talked about today, then you can listen to it. It says all the players are ready, prepared and ready. The staff are working 24/7 to make sure the players are, even if they're out of the comfort zone, to make sure they're ready. He talked about the discipline of the players and how it's got to be right, and it can't be affecting them for the rest of the season, because we need all the players available. He talked about Rian quite a lot, how brilliant he's been on and off the field throughout all his injuries. As we all know, I mean, he talked about there's been some cheap talk about Rian and all that, and it's not necessary. And there's a brilliant partnership developing now between Rian and Tyrose. And without giving too much away for Saturday, you can probably expect them to be playing on Saturday. They both striking up a really good partnership, and he wants that to keep flourishing and to build. There were talks last Friday with Steve Bettis regarding contracts with Anel, Jack and Rian, and they'll be ongoing between now and the end of the season. Surprisingly, he did say one thing about Rian, and he knocked on his door around Christmas time saying he wanted to leave the club, but he's obviously probably changed his mind now, and he's when he's back on form and the injuries are back on track, and he's okay. So I didn't expect that for Rian to say that, but I could understand it when the place that he was in, it is mentally and physically where he was. So the change might have done him a change as good as the rest at that period of time. But obviously he's back in the team now, and he's doing really well. Regarding Oxford, the competitive team, the inexperienced manager, which I said in my last video, we gave Gary Rowett. He has been around a long time. They're finding their feet in the championship, and they'd give themselves a good chance of staying in. And if they did win on Saturday against us, it'd be an absolutely massive victory for them, considering where they are in the league at the minute. But we have to turn up, and we can't afford to be any slip-ups, and we've got to be on it from straight away. Last two games, he felt that they've really kicked on, and they have to continue doing that for the last 7 games. They've got to play well. It's important that they stay disciplined, and they work really hard, and they stay focused on doing the jobs. And he was really pleased, and with the commentary performance, with the fans, the atmosphere, how good it was. And it was, I must admit, it was brilliant. They're taking nothing for granted. You know, it's going to be a fantastic tussle between us, Leeds and Burnley. He admits that there are just the 3 teams in it. They're all in good managers. He feels they've all done it before, and we're in a good place. The players are showing no fear. It's all excitement in the group, and they all pretty much enjoying it. And you know, it's really important that they stick together. He talked about the big things about discipline and how important it was that they don't get. And they're going to get injuries. There's going to be disappointment. There's going to be hiccups on the way. We all know that. There's going to be a twitchy bum times. He gets that. He knows the fans probably feel it more than he does. But it's important that everybody sticks together. The fans and the players together. They stick together and you know, support them when it's not going so well. And they've got to do all. I'm just want to feel things down here. But he said they've got to keep the basic things, do all the basic things right. The players are totally committed, tactically, mentally. They stayed tough. You've got to have calm heads during the last 7 games, which they have. You know, you can't lose your bottle when things aren't going so well. You've got to stay focused on doing your jobs. There might be disappointments on the way. We all know that, what it's like. It's not going to be straightforward. Nothing ever is. We'll know what the score is. Luton Leeds game time we kick off, because they've got an early kick off as well, so that's important. He did enjoy his time when he back at Oxford when he stayed there, and he got them out of the conference, and when he played at Wembley, and he's really a fan of Oxford now, and he's got lots of contacts down there. We had Jim Smith at the time and Jim Rosenthal, who were good people. And it's really important that, you know, we can't afford to slip up, and we go there and stay 100% focused. He did talked about Anel for a little bit, about the end of the season. They paid $3.5 million for him at the time, and he thinks he's worth 3 or 4 times that now. And what would happen if end of the season will clubs come in for it? If we don't get promotion, for argument's sake, if players started coming in for players like that, Hamer and all them, well, you know, we're going to make big profits on them. But we don't want them to go, do we? It's really important that we keep hold of them and hope we can get back into Prem. So we talked about options and playing in different ways, and there's competition for players. Everybody has to play well to keep the place nowadays. They've got to hold their hands up if they have to say 65, 70 minutes and they're struggling a little bit. You can't afford to be coasting in games nowadays. You've got to hold your hand up and say, right, get me off here, let's get some fresh legs on or whatever. So they've all got to stick together and work really hard as a group and do the jobs the best that they can. It's just a brilliant interview. Honestly, it's a great interview to watch, and I urge everybody to watch it. Can I just say, first and foremost, thanks for the comments and messages and other stuff that you sent me on my last video. I really appreciate it. We're still continuing to get subscribers to the channel, which I'm really proud of. I don't know where it's going to be going. I really enjoy doing what I'm doing at the minute. So what I'll do, I'll put the Chris Wilder on video after this. I'll do a match reaction after the Oxford game. Let's all hope it's all going to go well for us. And we get the 3 points that we hopefully deserve and keep marching on to the Prem. And I'm looking forward to watching it on Saturday afternoon. So enjoy the game, everybody. Enjoy Chris Wilder's video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll chat to you again on Saturday. Up the Blades.
So, Chris, first of all, then Oxford on the horizon. Team news issues first, then. Vinny Souza, how is he?
Trained all week, so yeah, it was close to being. I think I've said a couple of times regarding players, when to take chances, when to take risks, when to be a little bit more sensible, and we took that decision over that weekend. Great that we got a fabulous result, great performance. And to have Vinny back is a massive boost, and we've got Jamie Shackleton back as well. Tom Davies for Plymouth and Harry Clarke for Millwall/Plymouth. So that's exactly where I'm at with the injuries.
So to get, well, Souza first and foremost, and then the 3 other players that you mentioned, they're back for the final push, is great news, isn't it?
Yeah, we're in a good spot. You know, everybody wants the team to be fit and healthy and have options, as we talked about right away through the season. and for us to be in this situation where really we've only got Reece, Ollie Arblaster, and obviously Harry Souza, who returned to Leicester after his Achilles injury, 3 long-term injuries out, is a great achievement. Keeping them fit and healthy over these last 7 games is going to be key. I always talk in depth to the players about the preparation, about the recovery, about the detail in the preparation as well, to prepare themselves. Everybody, I said always, everybody wants to win. Some want to win a little bit more than others, but are the players prepared to do everything to put themselves in a good place? There's going to be injuries between now and the end of the season. We obviously want to minimise those, and we're working 24/7. Everybody's dialed in to what we need to do. Out the comfort zone from a staff point of view, even though we are always, but even more so now, 24/7 to give those players the best opportunity of being available.
Normally in such circumstances, a lazy question from someone like me would be, well, missing somebody like Vinny Souza, a top player, but to the squad's credit, I suppose results-wise, he hasn't been missed.
Well, it's only happened for the last 8.5 months, hasn't it? So nothing's really going to change over the last month. Next month, sorry. Yeah, everybody's had to deal with injuries. From a discipline point of view, from a suspension point of view, we've had a couple of players that tied up some bookings, but from sendings off, we've obviously only had Anel. So, we talk about things that really will derail our charge or our progression or our journey, and in discipline is one, and obviously from an injury point of view, we're in a good place with that. So we're in a good spot at the moment, and hopefully we can carry on in the same way that we've been.
Rian Brewster, look, he's banging form, isn't he right now? How good is it after one heck of a journey for him and his association with Sheffield United to actually start to see that?
Yeah, brilliant for everybody, but most importantly for him. I read a piece on Tyrese and what he's done so far this season, and his words regarding Rian sort of are echoed by all of us at the football club internally. Such a popular boy. Works extremely hard. When he's not in the team, he's the biggest supporter. When he's in the team, he does his best. And great that he's in form. He's scoring goals, and his general play is really good. And they're building up quite a partnership at the moment. There's huge pressure on them, as we know, through Callum. And Callum's played more minutes than anybody else. Kiefer coming back in the frame after his injury issues. And Tom Cannon as well, get himself back fit after a nasty ankle injury against Middlesbrough. So Ben can play at the top of the pitch as well. So we're well stocked, and Rian knows and Ty knows that they've got to play really well. I don't think I'm giving away a load of secrets regarding team selection for Saturday. I think everybody would expect them to go again. It might be a little bit different during the week when we might have to mix it up with a 3-game week, and then obviously over the weekend of Friday and Monday when we play sort of those games sort of pretty close together. But managing minutes is key. But Rian and Ty are linking very well, and the biggest thing obviously their assists and goals recently is top drawer, and well, hopefully that will continue through the last 7 games. 5
or 6 weeks ago, you were talking about the fact that you wanted him to stay into next season. Has anything moved with that?
It was discussed at the board meeting that we had on Friday with the owners regarding players out of contract, the Jack Robinson's, Anel situation, and Rian's situation. So. Stephen Bettis is on with that and in discussion with the owners. For me, as you can imagine, all focus and concentration on what happens here. But yeah, asking me, would I like all 3 of those boys to re-sign? Yeah, 100%, absolutely, because they've been all outstanding for us, and have still got a part to play going forward.
I suppose with Rian specifically is that were he not to stay, it would be exceptionally galling to see him have good form for somebody else, given the journey that he's had here.
Yeah, we have to be sensible with contract discussions, and we have to do what's right for the football club, and Rian has to do what's right for himself. But I'd like to think with his reaction and how he's been around the place and his attitude to everything, that he wants to stay here. He's not knocked on my door once and said he wants to go. In and around Christmas, he was in, and then he got injured against Blackburn, really unfortunate, and then over sort of the Christmas period, not knocked on my door and wanted away. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see a player that doesn't see his immediate medium-term future at Sheffield United. But as you all know, contract situations and talks can become quite complicated. But if the boy wants to stay, we want him to stay, then hopefully we can come to an agreement.
Yeah, so, well, Oxford, as this fascinating promotion race turns up another notch, doesn't it? And Oxford tomorrow. You're one of your former clubs. What about the current group then? What are you expecting from them as a challenge?
Incredibly competitive, an experienced manager that's gone in and won games at the start, and as we all know, you have to do a lot of things right to win games of football in the Championship. So, team that got promoted through the playoffs, so finding the feet, and it'll be a massive achievement for them, as it is, I should imagine, for all three promoted clubs to stay in the division, and they've given themselves a fighting chance. So, we're expecting their best. It's always a difficult place to go and get a result. The support is right behind them. And it will be, and we've got to turn up again. And there's no real sort of, in this sort of situation, you can't afford too many slip-ups from our point of view of where we want to get. So, we're going to be at our best yet again. Home form's been absolutely magnificent. Away form, has been absolutely magnificent, and we're going to have to continue that. But we're expecting a real tough encounter. I think one thing through experience and managing the amount of games that I've managed is that you're going to have to do still a lot of things right to get a result. And if we're off it by any way, we'll get hurt and punished. And I don't want us to do that. I don't want us to chuck a lot of the great work that we've produced so far this season to put ourselves in the position to put ourselves on the points total that we've got. By us being off a bit, I don't sense that, and I don't feel that one bit. I think the last two games have really kicked us on. We've got ourselves in a position. It's not time to breathe now. It's time to kick on and really put a foot down. And I think I can say this now. I think it's a three-club tussle for two. And we're right in the middle of it. So we've got to continue and doing all the things that we've done so far. To maintain and improve our position over the last 7 games. Do
you think the players sort of sense a bit of that? Because from speaking to Blades fans in the circumstances that we do, it wasn't just about the win against Coventry, who were in excellent form. It was the manner of it and the way in which Sheffield United, beat them.
Yeah, I've said all along we've produced those performances all season, and I've said all along, through a season, if you're successful, there'll be games where you're really at your best, and we had to be. Coventry had won 10 out of 12 or whatever, and I think they even came into the game as favourites by the bookies or something like that. Or the week before it was we were underdogs. So playing well, playing okay to well, and sometimes playing okay, not great, but still getting results is the key, and we've managed to do that all season. But we're going to have to play well between now and the end of the season. So the players individually in really good nick, the team's in good nick. They're playing well, they're enjoying the situation. I thought the support and I thought the whole environment and the atmosphere was absolutely perfect on Friday night. From my point of view, I do understand when the away fans sell out. It sort of adds to it, but the whole feel of everything, and the players stood up stood up to the challenge of overcoming a team banging form, the form team in the division, and the way they played. As I was always, I'm going to be. I'm disappointed in the 94th minute because I didn't think it was a deserved goal from my point of view, and maybe even a foul on Coops. But I thought it was a fair scoreline. We had to play well against a real top side, and I thought it was a fair scoreline and a real good performance. So it's given us a platform to build from. And I've talked to the players about this. I want us to get better in this last 7 games. Don't want us to be hanging on in there. Don't want us just to get to this situation and go, time to relax, time to chill out. No, it ain't time to relax, time to chill out. It's time to get a foot down and really go for it. And I believe the players are in that position and that place as well.
Clubs always like to talk about essentially being the masters of their own destiny. So one of the 3 teams that we've alluded to might not do that. So I suppose the message is don't take anything for granted.
No, we won't. I'm too long in the tooth for that. Gids, too experienced to know you have to fight for everything. We've had to fight all season. We've had to fight. Personally, I've had to fight for everything in my career. This club has had to fight for everything it's achieved since 2016. It's not been given to us. It's not been given, as I keep saying, by a chequebook. We've earned the right, as I've talked about, in terms of success, getting into the Premier League, to invest, to improve. We've had to earn that right, and we're going to have to earn the right in the next 7 games. And it's a fantastic tussle between three really big clubs in the division. And I've said all along, for the 3 clubs to get to the points total as they've got now is incredible, and it'll need an almighty push from everybody, all 3 clubs, to achieve the success that all 3 clubs are after. All I can talk about is my club at the moment, and like I talk to you about, we're in a good place. We're playing well. We're playing freely. We're enjoying it. We're embracing the situation. The players are looking forward to the next game. There's no fear in their play. There's a free spirit about them. We're not an arrogant club. We're not an arrogant manager. They're not an arrogant players, arrogant team. So we understand the challenges ahead right the way through. Whether they're ones against teams fighting in the next 2 away games, fighting to stay in the division, respecting that, or there'll be ones against a team that is going to be in and amongst it. In the 3rd last game of the season, so full respect to everybody, and let's carry on in terms of what we're doing and what's got us to this position.
So, thank you.
Morning, Chris. Morning. Just on something you touched on there, I wanted to expand it a little bit more, if I could. How much excitement there is amongst the group at what the opportunity lies ahead of you, because it'd be quite easy on the outside to think there might be some trepidation there and nerves and everything. How much excitement do you sense in the group of what might be ahead?
Well, you look at it, at the reaction, especially over the last 2 games. Real difficult away game, Sheffield derby. Scenes at the end. I'm going to enjoy it, and the way we played on Friday night against the top side. So I'm not sure that I'll tell you if there was, but there isn't.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you that. And that's from the heart. That's an honest view of my players. They're enjoying it, and the way they played, the way for a spell there when we got our 3rd, which was looking back, was a brilliant team goal. That wasn't just getting it at the back and boshing it, was it? Some decent play there, yeah, and fabulous finish. And then for a period there, for 20 minutes, 15-20 minutes, we were pretty rampant. Yeah. And all players looked, if they were stepping up to the mark, they all looked as if they were enjoying how we were playing, the structure of the team, and collectively, we looked a really good team. And we need to carry that on. So there's no reason why we need to change anything, change our approach or our outlook to it. We just need to keep doing the same things, keep doing the basic things right, and keep saying you've got to enjoy these periods of your career. They're a group that enjoy each other's company. They enjoy coming into work. I see that all the time, and they're an incredibly committed, together group of players, which you need to get to 83, 85 points at this stage of the season. They're doing it, and they're enjoying doing it.
I was going to ask, is there almost, it sounds too simplistic to say, is there a secret to that? But again, it's easy to go out and there, don't worry about the pressure. You know, that's the easiest thing in the world to say, isn't it? Does that go down to recruitment, down to their characters? What's the sort of secret of?
I think a combination of a lot of things. Dan, what the feel of this place is like, you know, what our attitude and approach is like as sort of coaches and teachers and managers, and the togetherness that's been built over a long time. And it's an art to build, and we're still on that build, as I've talked about. And we, you know, it's a challenging environment as well, and it's a demanding one. So, you know, it's not an easy, you know, if things are not right, we'll just let it slip or slide. You know, we're tough with the players. We expect and demand good standards off the pitch and on the pitch, and they understand that. But the togetherness is crucial. The connection between those players is massive. Players that are playing, players that are not playing, players that are injured at the moment. They're at one. They're not. I'm not walking downstairs and going into the canteen and I've got a group over there and a group over there and a little group over there chatting and the young kids chatting. They're all together and that's shown. Yeah, of course it does. It make it easier when you win games of football, of course. Yeah, but we've been tested right the way through the season, as you know. Our reaction to disappointment has been fantastic, and there might be disappointments between now and the end of the season, and it's going to be that reaction. But if they keep doing what they've done for me themselves together as a group and the football club, then I'm content regarding whatever happens, whatever the outcome is. I think they've earned the right to be 100% supported and backed vocally by our supporters because of the challenges that they've overcome, the performances and the results that they've got. So hopefully together, going down the stretch, we can really kick on and enjoy this and take it on.
Familiar territory for you this weekend. I know you came back here with Middlesbrough. Hecky came back here a couple of weeks ago with Preston. When you go back to a former club where you've had success as well, are the emotions slightly different as a manager? No,
I had a good period there. It didn't end very well. I think there was a lot of moving parts to that. In terms from a contractual point of view, I think when I left, I think people would be scratching their head why I left, because I left a team that was in the playoffs and had been top to a team that was 4 or 5 points adrift at the bottom of the Football League. But there was a reason. There's a few of the guys that I worked very, very closely with that left the club at the same time. Chairman Kelvin Thomas at the time, who was an absolute outstanding chairman. Jim Smith, who was a big mentor for me at the time, who I got on brilliantly with, and from Sheffield. Even though he supported the dark side, we got on famously well, and I loved him to bits. And Alan Hodgkinson, who's obviously got a massive history here, and Jim Rosenthal, who I still keep in contact with, who was a huge Oxford United supporter. All 4 of those guys leaving the club at the same time, and it was a difficult period going into that season. So I made a decision, and maybe that wasn't well communicated why I left. But I've got to say, on the whole, I really enjoyed my time there to get the club out the conference and into the Football League on a memorable day in May at Wembley. Was one of the highlights of my career, and it will stay with me right the way through my career. And I really enjoyed it, and I'm delighted that they got promoted. I was close to the manager that got them there, a local boy, so I know how he felt. Des in getting them up. And his feelings and emotions on the day, and them getting back into the Football League was great, and getting a couple of promotions was fabulous. And it's a progressive go-ahead club, so I'd love them to stay in the division. I know they've got some issues regarding ground, the ground situation, other little bits and pieces that was always been hanging over them for quite a long time. But yeah, I'm a fan. Still got people down there that I keep in contact with regularly. But obviously I won't be a fan come Saturday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. Just finally wanted to ask you about, you said there's been discussions about Anel's future as well with Steve and the board. He's in a slightly different boat to Rian and Jack, isn't he? Because he's only got a year left and he's going into that final year. From the sort of feedback you've had, does he see his future here, do you think, or will that be a slightly different?
Yeah, I think he's done a few interviews on it. I do think it is dependent on what happens at the end of the season, because these are ambitious boys as well. But we have to secure longer term contracts for our players. We can't. Yeah. We've talked about it, and it is really difficult. And I know there was a massively difficult situation with Illy and Xander. But we can't, as a club, allow players to run the contracts down. We can't allow Jayden to run his contract down, and I think everybody understands that now. It's a different attitude to and a different approach now. I'd like to think securing our best players, because of the amount of young players that we've got in the building, the amount of assets that we've got now. It is really important from a financial point of view that we protect ourselves as well. And we put a lot of work into Anel. You know, it was a great signing. I was with Paul Mitchell yesterday and we talked about it. And from Paul and Paul Eckenbottom's point of view, it was a fabulous signing. And he's been outstanding. The price that the club paid for him, and then what, 3.5 million, which was an absolute steal. And now you're looking, his market value has got to be 3-4 times that now. So the work that we've done as a football club pre-me, and the work that we're doing now, and what Anel's done to put that price up and preserve that price is really key. So yeah, going back to Anel, I'm sure he's enjoying his football, but we don't know what's around the corner, so we'll wait and see. But somebody that we'd really like to build around, and I'm sure we'll have that opportunity, especially if we get to where we want to be at the end of the season.
Cheers, Chris. Good luck.
Cheers, Dan. Thank you.
Morning, Chris.
Morning, Stu.
Just in regards to the squad, I guess the tactical work in terms of the basics is kind of done now. The fitness work is done now. Is the mental side the most important part in this last stretch of the season?
Yeah, I always think it's always really important part. I keep banging on to the players, and I just imagine you've heard this 1,000 times. For me, tactically, we have to be spot on. We have to, in the work that we do, whether it's pre-season, whether it's during the season, whether it's during games or towards the end of game scenarios to see games out, to go for it or whatever. There's a lot of input goes into that preparation, the processes, out of possession stuff, in possession stuff, game plans. Technically, they're all good players. To play at this level, to play at the top end of the championship, they have to be really good players. Some are a little bit different to others, i.e. your boy who scored a fabulous free kick on Friday night. Your big moments for the players that they have to produce, so we have to have a lot of those. Physically, the season, what it is in the championship, how demanding it is. And like you said, the mentality is absolutely huge. And I don't think we get to the position that we've got to now by not being mentally tough and strong, and enjoying it when we're on top, and when we have to dig one out and we have to find something from somewhere, we try and find that little bit, that little extra bit that we need to. So yeah, especially going down the stretch, we've got experience of it, myself personally, so it's a time for calm heads, it's a time for discipline. It always is a time for calm heads and discipline, but you can't be losing your head at this stage. It needs to be nice and calm and focused on what's in front of you. And this week, everything has been regarding Oxford and Saturday afternoon, and making sure that we're prepared and we're ready for a tough encounter. This is, as people have talked about, everybody's still got something to play for. For Oxford United to stay in the division would be a magnificent achievement, and they're in a decent position to do that, and a home win on Saturday for them would be absolutely huge. So they've got something to fight for, we've got something to fight for, everybody's got something to fight for. So the mentality of our group has to be absolutely top.
And all three of you managers involved at the top have all won promotion before. Daniel Farker was talking yesterday about sort of recognising the signs of the mental qualities he needs from his squad. From what you've said, you've already seen them in yours.
Yeah.
Was there a point this season when you're getting to know a new squad when you think there's something there? You know, they've got what it takes.
Yeah, I thought I was excited about the season from the off, and I think even the first game, I was excited at what my team could produce. I understood that there'd be some down days. I understood that it wouldn't flow as well or not as well, or it would flow better the longer this group is together. I keep saying, you know, the build wasn't even a pre-season really. It was learning on the job. It was the players learning about themselves, learning about how we want to play, learning about me as well, because it wasn't a group that I'd managed for 3 or 4 years. You know, there was players in there. I would only say Robbo really as the one survivor through our last time in the Premier League that I bought. Everybody else inherited sort of, yeah. And Rian, Rian. Everybody else was, you know, last season, which was obviously well documented. Getting to know those players last season, but there's a whole group of new players that were getting used to me just as much as me and the coaches were getting used to them. So learning. So I've been excited right the way through the season, but I think, you know, especially over the last 2 weeks, you've really seen a glint in their eye, really. And they've had to take it up, and they will need to take it up because of the standard of the competition and the teams, the players, and quite rightly what you've said. What Scott's done in his career is magnificent in terms of the promotions that he's had, and what Daniel's done as well, getting teams out of the Championship as well. So good operators that know the way around a football pitch and know the way around this period of the season. But ultimately, we can talk and we can say whatever we want, but there's still a lot of things to factor in, like external, you know, things and whatever, pressures from outside, pressures internally, and the characteristics of the players and the characteristics of the group. All three teams playing in sort of a different way, but all three teams have had incredible results so far.
And just on the footballing characteristics of the group, particularly the attacking group, with the front four now, when you've got everyone fit, you've not got lots of players. You've got lots of different ways of doing each job. How, when you're going into a game at this time of year, how much are you thinking of, you know, I want to do this in this kind of way, or is it more down to he's in form sort of thing?
A little bit of both, Stu. It's a great question. I've always tried to bring different options. I talked about different ways of playing. We've always tried to do that. A couple of January transfer windows that we've had. I think the last time that the 18-19 group went up, the 3 signs that we made were absolutely key to what we did. Even though it wasn't talked about really. Kieran Dowell coming in, giving us that quality and that left foot and that 10 that can play in a free or in a midfield free or behind. Gary Medine that gave us the physicality that we needed, and Scott Hogan that gave us the pace and the goal scoring ability. And what that did to the players at the top of the pitch, that kept them on the toe. So it gave me options to go different ways through games or into games. It gave us incredible competition as well. So, you know, I knew that McGoldrick knew that he had to play well. Sharp knew that he had to play well. All those boys knew that they had to be absolutely bang on it because they had the boys breathing down their neck, and those other boys when they came into the team. So it's something that I've done for quite a long time, and I think from my point of view, it's necessary. But still, you're playing well. Quite difficult to drop Rian after he scored two fabulous goals for us. But Callum will understand that. But Callum will know that he's played more minutes than anybody else. Tyrese knows that, you know, he has to play well because Kiefer's floating about and Tom Cannon's floating about as well. So, but players are playing well. They deserve to stay in. But there will be times, especially over the next couple of weeks, because of the physicality, because of how we want to out of possession press and get after opposition, which I think is really important. Getting the press right, which I thought was outstanding against Coventry, not allowing them to get into a rhythm as well. And you know, if you put your hand up after 60, 65 minutes and you've left everything on that, out there, there's no coasting. You stick your hand up and you get the little clap and the round of applause you deserve, and on come, you know, good players to hopefully, you know, preserve or take the game away from the opposition.
We all know from the history of the game that every season, you know, somebody will just have their moment who's maybe not played for 8-10 games or whatever. And you talked about how ready Rian was when he was not playing. I guess that's important with all of those guys, that they, you know, you talk about them spurring each other on, that they are mentally right and know that they could come on and maybe only play 20 minutes.
I've always said I speak to them guys more than I speak to the boys that are starting. My conversations with them will be more detailed, more frequent than the boys that have started the last 2 games, because of the importance. You know, Jez has not really gone to the pitch. I talked to him recently, you know, the last 2 games, and he's been a little bit unlucky, but I thought Brooksy deserved to get onto the pitch against Coventry, and the game against Sheffield Wednesday. For me, we were in a position that I didn't think that we'd give up, and we needed to see it out. So Sam McCallum came on and did a job wide left for us. So players have got their individual goals, and they're selfish. They want to be involved, which I've got absolutely no problem about them. I don't want them to be jumping about and jumping through hoops when they're not playing or they're not getting on. But it's how they handle themselves and the support that they give to the teammates and the respect that they give to the teammates. But they need to know why they're not. So those conversations are very, very frequent. And those are the boys. I've always said it. Martin Craney's playing 10 games. Kieran Dow coming in January. Medine, Hogan, Marvin Johnson, Lunny, even that season, where, you know, he ended up being an absolute regular in the Premier League the year afterwards. But for that year, it was Norwood and Fleckay. So to keep them right, so when we needed to go to free in midfield or Lunny needed to play, Stearman, all those boys, I spoke to them more than I spoke to any other group. So those boys have got an absolute vital part to play. And that could be anybody, by the way. That could be in a week's time Rian, or it could be in a week's time Tyrese, or it could be in a week's time Ben. So they all understand that, and they have done and had to buy in that at the start of the season.
And you talk about that support, and obviously it extends beyond the playing squad. I guess it's important too that fans obviously feel the nerves and all that sort of thing, but that they try their best to park that and you know, get through the difficult moments that the team's going to have.
Yeah, I thought that they've been absolutely outstanding for us all season, and they've picked us up. And you know, for me, they picked us up when we went 1-1 against Bristol City, one of the home games. You know, and I wasn't possibly as concerned as maybe they were after 5 or 10 minutes at half time against Coventry, because I believed that there would be a reaction from Coventry because of the manner of the first half and how that panned out, really. But I liked the way that we were nice and calm and didn't really give up any big opportunities, and then found a way back into it and saw that little period out. And maybe there was a little bit of anxiety in the supporters, but you know, through that period, they really lifted the team. And when Rian got his third goal, I enjoyed the performance, and I enjoyed the feel of it as well. I thought it was really, really composed, really calm on the pitch, and from, you know, listening and being in the ground at that time, you know, it was great. It was a great feeling that supporters are coming in and enjoying watching the team play and enjoying what we're putting out there, enjoying the work ethic of the team, the competitiveness of the team, and how we went about it against an excellent team. So yeah, there is going to be that. There's going to be some twitchy moments down the stretch, as there always is. But it's how we control and deal with those situations. And it's, for me, looking at the players now, there's no reason that anything will change between now and May the 3rd. Cheers, Stu. Thank you.
Just going all the way back just to Rian, but one of the great things that you must be really pleased with is that he's remained engaged with a football club. You brought him in because you know he's a good player.
Yeah.
You obviously know what you felt he was capable of doing on the pitch. But it would have been easy for him just to sort of drift away from the club in a way, wouldn't it?
I think that shows his personality and mentality, and how determined he is to live up to. Now, whether he gets to that spot again, you know, it's all up in the air. He's got to do a lot of things right, because he was, as we all know, his standing in the game at that particular time was really high. But as I've talked about and been consistent with, you know, it wasn't his fault. He didn't underprepare. He wasn't, unprofessional. He wasn't ill-disciplined. He was just really unfortunate. And to reset and go again so many times, and to try and keep climbing the mountain so many times, when you get to a certain stage and then you slip and fall down it, and then you have to go again, you slip and fall down it, and now he's climbing it again, and we're all praying that he stays healthy. Is he going to have injuries between now and the end of his career? Yeah, he has, but hopefully nothing major, and he can get into a rhythm. And he can. The place that he's in is a really good place at the moment, and he can really kick on, because he's going to be a big player for us between now and the end of the season, and hopefully that doesn't stop at the end of the season.
I mean, it's quite remarkable mental strength,
yeah,
really, when you think about it. Yeah.
I don't think maybe the man on the street, that the regular supporter understands what he's gone through. I think it's really cheap and lazy just to say, oh, he's a failure, he's injured again. That is really cheap and lazy, in my opinion, because knowing what Rian's about, and the amount of work that he's putting in, the amount of work that he put in the first place to get into the position that he was, from a young kid right the way through to getting in and around Liverpool's first team, playing in some huge games, being involved at that level, and then wanting to make that move as well. There's a couple of players there that are still there, could quite easily and possibly stayed there, and gone out on loan and done this, that and the other, but he wanted to make a name for himself, and unfortunately he got off to a difficult start. But like you said, his resolve and his attitude and his mentality has been absolutely outstanding, and his personality is so positive. And I think you see popular players. I think you see players that float around clubs. You see popular players. Then I think you see players at another level. I put Bashi into another level. I put Rian Brewster into that category, where everybody internally, from players, from staff, through chefs and stewards and physios, or whatever people are floating around the club, the support staff, look at him. Nobody's got a bad word for him, and everybody wants him to really kick on. So hopefully he'll do that for all us lot, because we'd love to see that, but most importantly he'll do it for himself.
It does, though, in fairness, also speak volumes about the environment that you've created and cultivated behind the scenes, though, as well, because for Rian, as much as he's obviously got that remarkable character and strength of character, so that needs to come back, doesn't it? It needs to be reflected at times. He's not going to want to feel as if he's...
It's a caring club. We care about our signings. We want every one of the signings to do well. Every one of our players, every one of our academy players to do well. We'll give them all the support 24/7. We want this to be an enjoyable place to come to work, or one that cares about the people that work for us off the pitch and on the pitch. That's the feel that we want it to be. We want it to be connected. Always said that, going back to 16 and 17, completely disconnect 8 parts of the football club. He has to do a lot of things, but we want to create that environment and that culture that we go on and the manager bangs on about all the time. And when they leave us, I want them to, and not everybody's won things, and not everybody's had a fabulous time, and not everybody's been an absolute resounding hit. But I like the fact that, I would say 8 or 9 times out of 10, players are walking away and going, I really enjoyed that. It was great. Maybe it didn't go as well as I wanted it to go, but I really enjoyed that. You know, like it's a McAtee, you see him on social media, the way he was treated by everybody at the football club, players that I've had, you know, the Stearmans, maybe, you know, even from Dave Batsett's era, you know, Ian Bryson coming back to the club the other week when he played Preston, Alan Kelly coming back, Paul Rogers coming back, Wayne Quinn coming back, the players that we have now that come and watch us and want us to do well. That's because of the environment and how everybody is at the football club. So we have to continue that, and it's a really important part and an aspect of the football club that I want us to continually grow and be good at.
And just one last thing from me. I mean, I actually think it's a good thing, and I know there's a balance to be struck, because, you know, none of us would want people wandering into our offices or sat at our desks in the upstairs bedroom, you know what I mean, talking to you while you're working. But I've seen it on social media quite, a few times recently. Fans with players, meeting players. At a lot of clubs, you can't get within 500 yards of a footballer. I've even been asked to step off a pavement once because a footballer was walking into the ground out with his car behind me. I didn't move, by the way. I thought he could, yeah. And to be fair to the player, he didn't ask me to move. It was somebody else. But that proximity between the players and the fans here is something that you sort of encourage. I know there's a balance to strike. I know when they're here, there's at work. But, I mean, I really like it. And I think it can be helpful, particularly at this time. Yeah.
I want you guys to come in and enjoy coming into the football club. I don't want you to be outsiders, strangers. I know you don't work here, but I want you to feel comfortable coming in. You know, our connections that we've had over a long time. I want that. I think it's really important. I want you guys to want us to do well. You know, I don't want you guys to having curly sandwiches at a League One club. I want you to be well treated in the Premier League, as you have been in the past, and no doubt would like to be in the future. So I want that. The culture that we have in the academy is not big time. It's not arrogant. It's belief and it's personality, and there's characters around the place, and there's togetherness as we've seen, and how we want it to be. The connections, but the players get brought up to be good people just as well as good players. And they're not all robots. They're not all the same, as you know, in terms of you've speaking to them, Shieldsy, over the past 10, 15 years. But you do get some clubs that are standoffish and don't want to interact with the supporters and the fans, which are the lifeblood of the football club, and they'll be here. Long gone will be CW and Jack Robinson and Vinny Souza, and even owners and directors and people, but the club will always be here and the supporters will always be here. So that is really important from my point of view. There was a moment when I first took over where I found out that the players were parking the cars behind the cop because they didn't want to interact and engage with the supporters in the main car park, because they didn't like walking down and signing autographs. So obviously that got changed pretty quickly.
I'll change that.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that is.
No. They obviously agreed with that decision, didn't they? Yeah.
Hamer.
Yeah, of course.
Hamer. Gus, come here.
Gus, the manager wants you, Gus.
Gus. Oh, he's been there.